What's up, my friend? Abby here, and welcome back to Ask Abby, where I answer your writing questions and help you make your story matter. It's been so long since I did one of these because last month, for the whole month, we were on a writing retreat together, a virtual writing retreat, which consisted of Write With Me live streams every single Wednesday instead of videos, and it was super fun. We got a ton of writing done. Very productive month. I'm very happy with the progress that I made on my own writing projects, and it was so cool to see you guys make progress on your writing projects as well. I finished a novel that I had been working on for over a year, and I also made progress on the co-write project that I'm doing with my sister, which is a really fun new action-adventure fantasy series that we're working on together, and you can learn more about that series in this podcast right here that we just did last week. So yeah, now I'm like at the revision / editing stage with my Lighthouse book, as I affectionately refer to it as. It's really long. It ended up being 195,000 words, so it's like 550 pages, Word document pages. Oh my gosh, it's rather daunting looking at that. I'm printing it off by like 100 pages at a time so that I don't just like run away screaming and crying and eat waffles instead. But it's all part of the writing process, right? It's all part of the writing life. And I'm actually having a good time editing this book. It is probably my most it's definitely my most experienced writing, obviously, because it's the last thing I wrote. And because of that, it is cleaner. So it is easier to read through the first time and make revisions. And my writing process has just evolved a lot over the years. So it's interesting to see how far I've come. Comment below and tell me, what is your writing update? What are you working on at the moment? And did you enjoy the June writing retreat? Did you make progress on your writing projects? I hope so. Okay, so lots of Ask Abby questions came in during the month of June, and I didn't answer any of them, so let's jump into those questions right now.
Why does your story matter? Good question. What if I told you that there's a science behind every great story? I don't just teach you how to write. I teach you how to change the world with your story and make your author dreams come true.
In case you're new around here and you're not sure how this works, here's the deal. You ask me questions, I show up here once a month on YouTube to answer those questions, and you can submit questions to the show two ways. The first way is to hit the join button below this video, get on the inside of the YouTube community, and in the community tab on my channel, post your question as a comment in that community. The second way to submit questions to this show is to go to patreon.com/Abbie Emmons, get yourself inside the Inner Circle group, and post your question there. But make sure you hashtag it Ask Abby so that I see it. All right, let's get to the questions. First question is from Grace. After watching your video on how to write a trilogy, which was extremely helpful, I have a question about carrying the theme throughout all three books. I know that the aha moment of each book is usually where the MC learns a lesson and therefore the message or theme is revealed to the readers, and that there can be a child theme in each book that leads up to the big takeaway theme. However, if the first book in a trilogy ends on a cliffhanger with no aha moment yet, how is the child theme revealed to the MC and therefore the readers? Should book one not have a theme or message, or is there another way to tie in the theme without having the MC learn anything? Like you say, I want to make my story matter. Thanks. There is absolutely several different ways that you can add theme and meaning and depth and make your story matter in the first book, even if you don't have this transformative aha moment at the end, okay? So yes, I would recommend having that throughout your series or at some point in your series, but in the first book, if you want to end on a cliffhanger and not bring your character to this grand realization just yet, you can still incorporate the theme, the child theme, or even the overarching theme of your whole series, simply by showing us the character's journey and how they've changed. So I always like to say, when I reach the end of a chapter, I like to ask myself this question, or if I reach the end of a scene, or even the end of a book, I like to ask myself, what changed? Okay, that's really the most important thing. Even if it's not like this pivotal moment, it can still carry a meaning and carry a theme, carry your story's truth, something that's important to you, through the character's journey, through the journey of change. The character doesn't have to come to the realization yet, but they have changed as a result of their journey. And maybe their change isn't necessarily all for the better. Okay, so maybe in the first book, they made a lot of mistakes, and maybe that led them to the cliffhanger. Maybe they triggered some sort of disaster that the book ends on. And it's like, oh no, all this bad stuff is happening because the protagonist has made all these bad decisions, probably based on their misbelief, right? And based on their internal conflict. And that is what led them to the cliffhanger. That alone, in and of itself, is part of your theme. It is another way to weave truth into your story. Kind of like what I talked about in the negative character arc video. Your protagonist doesn't necessarily have to have a positive character arc or have a transformative moment in order to convey some sort of theme or truth to the reader. The reader can still see where your character is going based on their fear-based decisions. And that alone carries your theme. Maybe the story would have gone differently if your character had made different decisions based on the truth that they haven't quite learned yet. Okay, next question is from Marie. Anybody know that feeling where you have finished or nearly finished writing your novel and you're deep into the revision stages and then you realize your secondary protagonist is more interesting than your main protagonist? Just me? Okay. No, it's not just you. I've experienced this too. But in all seriousness, ask Abbie, when do you decide to finish a project, even if it has noticeable flaws, and chalk it up to a learning experience and move on versus rewriting? Thanks. A lot of times I can work out this problem before I start writing the first draft, just through a lot of outlining and planning and looking at my characters very closely and making sure that I'm developing my characters to the point where I am in love with them. If I'm truly like excited by the thought of writing this character and I'm in love with this character, then I will probably end up rewriting this book if it feels like it needs revisions. I never do like a full rewrite because I outline like crazy. So a full rewrite is never really necessary for me, but I do revisions. So when I do encounter this problem of finding that my secondary protagonist is more interesting than my main protagonist, or that the story just feels like it's going in too many different directions, or some like major thing that I feel like, ugh, how did I not figure this out ahead of time? When it comes to like deciding whether or not this is good enough to revise, or if I should just like scrap it, learning experience, and I move on, usually time will tell. And I hate to give that answer, but it's true. It's like, it's really just a time thing. Set it aside, and if your mind keeps going back to it like, oh, I really liked that story, you know, so many different elements of it I just loved and I was excited about, and I'm still excited about it. If you find that you're still excited about it and still attracted to it, chances are that's a winning idea for you, and you should go back to that and revise it, or rewrite it, or do whatever you have to do to make yourself even more excited for it and make it something really, really solid that you're proud of. Okay, now if you set it aside and you're like, maybe this was just a learning experience, and then you don't really think about it a whole lot afterwards, and you're more excited by other projects and you're moving on, then maybe it was just a learning experience. Maybe it should just sit in the drawer for a while. But I think it's also worth getting a second opinion on that. And if you have a trusted beta reader or critique partner, let them check it out and see what they think. And maybe they'll give you some great ideas as far as ways to revise it to make it even better. Because you don't want to just throw away ideas without giving them a real chance. Okay, last question is from Catherine. I am wondering how long you typically spend on each step, from concept flitting through your head last Wednesday morning over waffles, to getting a book back from your editor to decide whether or not to actually publish this one. I think it was the podcast where you said the Lighthouse one is taking so long it's hard for you, as you usually write a book in 5 to 6 weeks. Is that just the post outline first draft stage, or is it the whole process? How does it break down for you from an idea to explore to a finished book in your hand? So a bit about my writing process. It has definitely changed over the years, and I would say it all depends. Like literally every project is so different from the next one. The Lighthouse book was what I call a slow-paced writing project. And by that, I mean, I do not have a timeline in my head. I am just writing it whenever I feel like it. And in some ways that is a good thing. Like every writing session feels really inspired because I'm actually really inspired and I'm moved to write the book. But it also has drawbacks because when you spend a long time writing something, at least I tend to get bored with it. Not that I don't like it, like I love it, but it's like, oh my gosh, I've been working on this forever. So for a slow-paced writing project, as in I only write it when I feel like writing it and I have no deadline and no plans for it whatsoever, that is something like the Lighthouse book that took over a year to write because I was not writing it every day. I wasn't even writing it every week. Now with a book like 100 Days of Sunlight, which I wrote during NaNoWriMo, and I wrote in 27 days, which is still my record for writing a first draft. That was obviously shorter, but it was more of a challenge for me. Like I told myself I'm gonna write a book in 1 month because NaNoWriMo, obviously. And through doing NaNoWriMo year after year, I kind of got into the groove of writing a first draft in 4 to 6 weeks. The longest part of the process is outlining because that's what I really take my time on. That's to me the most important part because I am developing the story before I write it. I'm kind of writing it in my head and I want to get that solid. I want to feel really, really confident in that before I start writing the first draft. That is what saves me rewriting an entire second draft. The outlining stage typically takes me several months, okay? It really depends on how long of a book it's going to be, and I'm still outlining while I'm writing the first draft. That is also worth mentioning. Things will change while I'm in the middle of writing the first draft, and I don't mind going back into my outline and changing details because I'm trying to make it the best it can be, right? So let's just say a typical book that I had an idea for, you know, the first like spark of an idea several months ago. I might start writing or start outlining that now and then outline it for like 3 or 4 months and then start writing it. And then once I start writing it, probably 1 to 2 months for the actual writing process. So what are we, like 6 months? And then I'll let it sit for several months so that I kind of forget about it, so to speak, and I can return to it to do revisions and edits with a fresh mind and see it more objectively. So that would be probably another 2 to 3 months, and in the meantime I'd work on something else probably. So we're up to like 9 months from the first like inception of the idea, and then I would start editing and revising, and that would probably take me probably like a month for editing. And then if I felt really confident in it, I would send it off to my professional editor, which to me is the first step of the publishing process. So that's like 10 months from like idea to ready to be edited by a professional. Boom! Awesome questions, guys. As always, I hope my answers were valuable to you. If you would like to ask a question for Ask Abbie, you know what to do. Hit the join button below this video or go to patreon.com/Abbie Emmons and get yourself inside the inner circle group and post a question there, hashtag it AskAbbie. Smash that like button if you liked this video and be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already because I post writing videos and publishing videos every single Wednesday and I would love to have you here in the community. Until next week, my friend, rock on. In December of last year, and I finished writing it in February, and then I sent it off to my editor in May, I want to say. No. April. Yeah, April. May. No, it was May. June. I can't remember now. I think it was June.